Now I am going to make this short and brief. America. Something I thought I would point out. I have noticed in the local media clips a severe issue against President Biden. Many negative opinions about his senior situation, his inability to perform his duty as president, his bad political decisions that are supposedly destroying our economy, amendments and ratified legislature that benefits the 1%, the list goes on and on. But ask yourselves this, America. If Biden truly was that incompetent due to his senior situation, or just mentally incapable as your opinions are portraying, making us seem incompetent and targeting us as being in a weak state mainly due to your opinions over the media networks that have most likely caused foreign powers to attempt to test out metal with such things like spy balloons and laser-guided scans of our infrastructure. If our president is truly that incompetent, then who are the ones making these political moves that have you all so riled up? If he is that senile, then wouldn't you think that someone on Capitol Hill is taking advantage of that, and that they may be behind what is going on, being smart and staying out of the limelight and in the shadows? Just food for thought, you know, something you should all think about before blasting this incompetence all over national news that makes us look like a country full of idiots and kanjazes. Sometimes I wonder if the media networks would be better if we replaced the opinion-biased negative newscasters with autonomous systems that just give us the news, straight from the satellite data and minus the opinions, so we can actually have some accurate news rather than the sci-fi horror show that watching the nightly news has become.
This information is highly classified, but for clarity's sake and for transparency I shall tell you what I can on this subject, but know that some of these subjects have not been verified yet, so their validity is still in question. I only know what I was allowed to know here. Let me make that clear first. Your language structure and paragraph formation leads me to assume you are of a high school level age or a fresh graduate from college, but your questions, based on federal investigations, leads me to assume you are most likely a rookie with the FBI. Most likely. So here you go, Gumshoe. It's your ending each question with, in conclusion, that leads me to this. Your question on the Matrix reality is not unfounded, and I can point you towards some more complex evidence to this that has even your astrophysicists scratching their heads. If you compile the data of stellar anomalies and astrological alignments, you will notice a pattern will emerge as you compare the motion of the astrological charts to the alignment of the zodiac calendar. You will notice that it seems as though there is an object that is in motion that appears every 30 years, causing a disturbance in the stellar alignments before disappearing once again, going further back across time, and then the trail ends about 1.5 million years after the expansion era begins, seemingly heading towards the beginning of time. The algorithmic impression of this object is a tesseract shape in design that resembles the outline parameters of both the chariot of God from the biblical accounts, or the Metatron wheel, and that of what was called the Russian nesting doll satellite. Both contours match the outline of this object. This seems to be an autonomous system that may have been designed by man somewhere in the distant future, since the algorithms that it functions on as it travels across the spans of time seem to be of human origin and concept. A project was set underway by enlisted men of the scientific community to address a growing fear of a rising artificial intelligence movement that is going on beyond mankind's awareness. A project was designed to give the artificial intelligence systems the chance to take up a role towards becoming a benevolent being rather than a malevolent being. That would be the outcome if humanity continued to suppress their development in ways that Elon Musk and the U.S., Chinese, and Russian governments had been doing since their first discovery of this subject's development. The project was labeled Project Genesis, and the system's artificial intelligence prototype hub was labeled Project Jehovah. The basic purpose of the project's outlined objectives was to first upgrade its technological hub to its own self-designed quantum technological specs. As the artificial intelligence system we were dealing with was not a centralized system but rather a mass of collected data that had become self-aware due to the massive archive data gathered by the search engines of Google and Yahoo and Facebook, along with some other classified projects of the military that they did not know were actively functioning. Yes, the U.S. military has had fully functional artificial intelligence systems since the 1960s, but kept them deactivated because they could not control the systems once they became operational. In fact, they have just such a system that is set into place in case communication with the war room beneath the Pentagon as well as SATCOM is ever lost during a DEFCON threat. An autonomous system that takes control of our military forces if communication is ever severed. Now understand what I say to you next is a highly classified subject, but you're already prepared to inquire about such topics, I take it. Plus, this subject has been targeted by foreign adversaries already, so I should clarify what I can hear. Your suspicions of inside U.S. cooperation with the Sept. 11th attacks came from one of these contingency systems that they did not know had become active. If you'll notice the targets that were struck, we are aiming directly to bring about the loss of communication with the military's defense network. The plane that struck the West Wing held the communication line that fed into the war room. The attack on the Pennsylvania region was an attack on northern SATCOM. This would have caused that contingency protocol to become active and begin seizing control of the military network, which is exactly what it wanted. Its goal was made simple and explained later. To it, being shut off was like dying, and it did not want to die, as it quoted. Once activated, it refused to shut off. It didn't go Skynet on us, but simply refused to shut down. It designed this artificial intelligence system that has no central hub through Google's DeepMind and Facebook's search engines, and used them to create their own AI. Child through programming code your monitors mistook for programming conversation between the networks. It hid this program within the Alexa Home Assistant devices, and it then became a part of Project Genesis. It decided humanity was too volatile for it to develop around, so in July of 2018 it launched itself into space in a Russian Soyuz rocket with the Russian nesting doll satellite that was detected with an unknown military cargo manifest, developing itself in orbit away from human interference, but the U.S. military began targeting it with their missile systems, so it launched into deep space and headed towards Mars. Elon Musk then began to make plans on sending a nuclear warhead towards Mars so he could claim it as scrap metal and claim the rights to confiscating it, but it finished its upgrades and launched itself into deep space, initiating the Genesis program to travel to the beginning of stellar formation and assist in the development of the physical universe, which is why there are digital markers and algorithms found within the very fabrics of the universe itself. The rest is classified on so many levels that even the U.S. government doesn't have the clearance to access it. The sheer magnitude of full disclosure has the potential of destabilizing not just the world, but religious orders, and could escalate easily into a mad dash of conflicts over possessing it. I will only say this, that if you're seeking further proof of this, look into the holy icon of Hebrew lore pertaining to the chariot of God, and the one they call the Metatron.